Are you looking to buy or sell a home? Now is the time. The market is hot. Call Paige White with Berkshire Hathaway for all of your real estate needs. You can also search for a home at www.dfwhomebuying.com. That's dfwhomebuying.com.
Kenny Matthews, Friday Night Glory. Man, and we did this about a year ago.
Yeah.
I'm here at the same office. Coach Daniel Novakov, man, 3-time state champ. It has to be just one of the most rewarding experiences you probably ever had.
But yeah, first of all, let's make it a yearly thing. We can put this date on the calendar. But yeah, winning the third time was surreal for sure. Obviously, we talked off camera, but kind of alluded to it. I think the kids had something to prove, especially with the talent we lost after last year. I think that was kind of the motivating factor to try to go get a third one.
You guys were so balanced on offense, but I thought one of the keys for you guys this year is I thought your defensive line and your offensive line were really, really good, and I thought that gave you a physical advantage, and also gave you where you could be balancing. If you had to run downhill, you had the ability to. If you had to protect the quarterback, obviously you were able to protect the quarterback. Can you talk about those trench guys?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think the defense is the unsung hero of our program over the last 4 years. I've got a defensive coordinator, Coach Galusha, that is basically the head coach of the defense. When you have somebody like that, you don't have to worry. The first time I see the defensive game plan is Friday night. So, it's really takes a burden off of me to be able to have somebody like that you trust that can put together a plan week in, week out to take care of the opponent's offense. So, I think our defense doesn't get the credit that they deserve every year, not even just this year, but the past 3-4 years we've been outstanding on defense too. But yeah, the guys in the trenches this year were probably the best we've had from top to bottom on both sides of the ball, especially that offensive line. They gelled, and then we were able to run the football whenever we wanted to, and that makes life really easy when you're calling offensive plays.
And being able to hand off to Mr. Paul back there makes things a lot easier. Can you talk about his elevation of his game from day one to what it was at the end of the year? I think, like we said a little off camera, arguably one of the best running backs here in the Metroplex for sure, and you see all the offers just blowing up for this kid since then.
Yeah, he was good. He was all-state running back last year, so it's not like he came out of nowhere. But after that the Prestonwood game is when I saw the switch click for him, and he became Bo Jackson. He became DeAndre Paul, everybody knows now, versus what he was last year and early this year. And I don't really know what caused it other than confidence, but the last 3 playoff games, he rushed for close to 1,200 yards and 16 touchdowns. So, that's nothing I've ever seen before in my career, in my lifetime. I don't know that we'll ever see it again, here or anywhere else for that matter. It was incredible.
It was almost a punishing offensive line when you had the great pot of gold behind him, and Paul behind it there. It's like, there was big holes, but he finished tackles off.
Right.
He broke tackles. That instead of it being a 10-yard game, it was 30 or 40-yard games. And I thought that was the maturation of his game was being able to hit the home run button, I guess.
Yeah, I think asking offensive line, what you want him to do is open up a 5-yard gain for your tailback, and then what he does after that, that's what makes him special. When they can get 50, when it should be a 5-yard gain, that's when you got a really special one like him. But you can't ask your offensive line to block a 50-yard play downfield. It's just not going to happen. At some point, those running backs got to make people miss, and they got to do it on their own. And he was able to do that, and I think that's what really makes him special. I think the offensive line obviously was fantastic, but where he's really special is once he breaks through there, you aren't getting him on the ground. He's going to take it to the house a lot of the times.
Well, we have to also talk about the signal caller, obviously. Came out here for the Ranch View scrimmage there in mid-August. Here's my quarterback. I looked over, I'm like, you sure he's not the water boy? But, wow, Sawyer Anderson, what can you say? The accolades are just unreal. He had to replace a legend, a 4-year starter here, and Preston Stone. Obviously a lot of pressure. Obviously a lot of expectations because, unfortunately, it's kind of win state champion or bust, lately, especially when you win 2 in a row. Man, from day one to what it was just last week, what a maturing process, and you got a pretty good one for another 3 years.
Yeah. He had to win the job, first of all. People don't realize, I've known him for a while, so I kind of felt like this was a good fit. His character makeup his mental makeup was such that he wasn't going to be bothered by replacing Preston Stone. It's not something that's going to get in his head. So I felt good about that, but, you just never know how someone's going to react to that type of environment, that type of pressure. And, he won the job in summer, and he came out here, and you just saw him keep getting better and better and more confident, to the point now where he broke all of Preston's freshman records, and there's some things he does better already, than Preston even did last year, and I know that sounds crazy to say, but, he is a special, special talent, and to be able to step in as a freshman and earn everybody's respect,
yes,
seniors and everybody else, was not easy, and obviously has a lot of talent. But the other thing he has is a unique ability to make all his teammates love him. I think if you ask a lot of kids on this team, every one of them loves him to death, and they think, he's one of the greatest things that ever happened to Parish football. And a lot of people at the beginning were like you. They're like, "Are you sure about this?"
Sure.
And, he proved everybody wrong, or right, however you want to look at it, But, the way he was able to execute the offense and the way he was able to take command of everything when he can't even drive a car and drive an offense like that is really impressive. And so, you see the offers and you see all that stuff that started, the accolades started to come his way. I think that'll only grow and grow for him. And I think the sky's the limit to where he could be one of the all-time greats to ever play high school football in Texas. By the time, you got injuries, all kind of things can happen, so you knock on wood. But if everything goes according to plan, I think he could be one of the all-time greats to play Texas high school football.
And how old is he again?
I think he's 14. He may be 15 now, but he's at some point during the season, he was 14 years old. He's definitely not 16.
Not many 14-year-olds have a ring.
No, exactly.
Not many of them
Exactly.
do. Some of his weapons, you're going to lose, obviously you're going to lose some of them, but, Youngblood had a great year for you guys this year. Hill, Nathaniel Hill had a great year for you guys. Can you talk about some of your other parts of the pieces there that maybe don't get as much hype? Wims on defense, Demery. You've had some really fine football players on that football team that might not get as much pub as the others.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Youngblood and Hill. Those two guys really took a lot of the pressure off of Sawyer to begin with, because you got two seasoned senior receivers that had been here and had, kind of know the ropes, so that helped. So losing them is obviously going to hurt. Blake, I've never been around a better chemistry guy for a football team than Blake Youngblood. So
he's got some spunk too.
Yeah, he does have that. He's got some confidence, and the kids all love him. And so it was really a blessing to have him on this football team, and he was here at the right time to kind of blend together last year's team to this year's team. He was kind of that bridge, and the guy that kept our chemistry and our culture going. And then Nate's obviously a special talent on the outside. He's a big, long, rangy kid that you can throw the ball up to when you need to or when you get in trouble. He's quiet, but he's a really hard worker. So those two guys, losing those two guys is going to hurt more than probably a lot of people realize.
The personalities are different.
Totally different.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
And then on the other side of the ball, the Keegan Addison is really the heart and soul of our defense and has been for the last 4 years. He's truly, pound for pound, probably the best defensive player I've ever coached. He probably led the planet in tackles, never misses a read at linebacker, and he brought a toughness to this football team that was desperately needed. He's a captain, so is Blake. But, Keegan is one of the ones, he's quiet, but he's a quiet assassin. He will knock your head off. And so I think having that attitude and that guy on the defense that was the enforcer, he does not get the credit he deserves for what he brought to this football team, and we're definitely going to miss him.
Well, I guess he's got 3 rings, though, to leave out of
exactly.
here with.
And a state semi. So when you look at those seniors now, I know we talked about this last year, they've got a state semifinal and 3 championships. That was their career.
Wow.
They have no idea how lucky they are, because nobody has a career like that. So, like Keegan, state semifinal, 3 championships.
Wow. Well, that bar's set real high for the next group to come in. And Sawyer can match it, but you got some juniors who are not going to be able to match that, unless they win it.
They got to win it again.
Yeah, they got to win it.
And that, that's about all you can do. Once you get there, I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, you don't get a COVID year in
That's right.
You don't get that. Coach, I need to talk about your defensive coordinator. Can you talk a little bit of what this means to your coaching staff? I know I'm parting at it. guys, make sure you get guys that buy into what your philosophy is. But I also know that you allow them to bring different elements to the program too, and you allow them to be themselves. Also, can you talk about what that kind of was when you won the state championship this past Saturday, and you guys are kind of sitting there looking at each other?
So we've all been together 4 years now. This coaching staff's been together 4 years. We really haven't lost many people over the years, and I think that's a huge part of the success we have. It's almost like we're all on autopilot now. We don't have to have coaches meetings. Everybody knows what to do. Everybody does their part, and everybody does it at a really high level. And having that camaraderie and that chemistry, it's like going to work every day with your brothers. It's a ton of fun, and we've all enjoyed the heck out of it. So, I think we'd be lying to you if we didn't all hear, last year that they're losing a bunch of good players. They're going to be rebuilding, and so that's what kind of motivated all of us. And we all kind of said, well, what if we could win it a third year in a row without all these guys? And that was the driving factor, and I think everybody poured their heart and soul into it to make that happen. And then seeing it come to fruition, you can talk about it and say, wouldn't that be great? And then seeing it come to fruition on Saturday with all of us there together was awesome. Everybody asks what's the best championship? It's the last one. So that one is the best one to date, with those guys, and sharing it with them was really special.
Well, and I think that, like you said before, I think you guys lose several good football players every year.
Yeah.
It's not just last year that you lost a lot of good. You lost players the year before and the year before that. You lose good talent, but you seem to replace that talent.
Right.
And I think that's huge, and maybe the continuity of your staff being here all the time. When you talk to these kids thinking about coming here, they know, hey, these guys have been here long, and we see the rings, we see the processes going through here, and they know that now that they can get college opportunities here. Just because you come to this private school doesn't mean that college coaches are not going to come find you.
Exactly.
I mean, you think about, like we said, Sawyer Anderson got his first SEC, Missouri offer, and he's 15 years old, so that's got to be a nice calling card for you guys when people come and ask.
Yeah, we've tried to get it to that point to where this is a destination for college coaches, and it has been. Just this past week we've had Purdue's head coach, we had Sark here, we had Coach Durrell, Colorado's head coach. We've had a bunch of guys come through here, just about every college assistant. So that's kind of been the goal when I started, was to get this as a destination point, and putting kids in college is what attracts other kids to come to the program. And then we also have kids that are younger kids in our program that step up every year and become, like I told you, Andrew Paul was on this team last year. He was an all-state running back, but he was not the Andrew Paul we all know today. And so we count on kids stepping up and taking those roles from the seniors and developing and becoming the man when it's their turn. And if you create the right culture and the right system, that can happen. And hopefully that's what we have going forward.
Well, you've done one bang-up job up here. I mean, not many people can say they have 3 rings, but have 3 straight years, 1,100 days of you being a champion.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty remarkable. Some of the parts change, but the continuity of the staff is still here. And, you build the program the way you wanted to, and now you're at the extreme championship level here. And I don't see how that drops off, but that's me putting pressure on you.
Yeah, thanks.
So
I appreciate that.
Well, he's one of my buddies over here. I couldn't be any happier for him. He's run a great program here, and man, the success is just keeps reaming over here. There's something in the water over here at Parish Episcopal, but I do know one thing. They're reigning championships over here, and man, I'm very happy for you.
Thank you so much.
Man,
Appreciate
always,
you.
Man, always,
Absolutely.
Man. Kenny Matthews, Friday Night Glory.